Saturday Social, brought to you by EA Sports FC with PlayStation 5.
I feel like there's a lot of big talking points this week, Joe. A lot of different talking points as well in the world of football. So we thought we'd bring back our popular true or false section. The rules are very simple. The guests have a paddle in front of them. If you think the statement that Joe and I read out is true, hold up the true side. If you think it's false, hold up the false side. It's quite
tough
straightforward.
Rules, tough
and then we expect a bit of debate, don't
Yes, exactly. Right, pick up your paddles and let's get straight on with the first one then. Loads of news around Manchester United and the sporting director this week. Obviously, rumours starting to circulate about an approach for Dan Ashworth potentially coming. Now, nothing official has taken place, but if Dan Ashworth joins Manchester United, can he make them title contenders again? Ooh. True or false, Willie? False. Both of you, both down on Man United. Why?
If I put on Jude Bellingham's football boots, does that make me Jude Bellingham? No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
What?
Man United are missing world-class players in every position. They're losing. They don't have a winning mentality. They haven't won a league title in 10 years. They haven't won a Champions League in nearly the same amount of time. Bringing in executives is a nice little... It's a cherry on top of the cake almost. But you're missing I think you're missing 11 players to win the Premier League.
But is it not a foundation to give you that? It's not necessarily a cherry on the cake. It's not the foundation that allows you to sign these players that could potentially push Manchester United.
Look, maybe if this is part of systematic change that is going to occur at Manchester United, then maybe, and we can discuss it then. But if people are kind of positioning this signing of Dan Ashworth as somehow going to be the sea change for Manchester United, there is a long way to go before we can look at Manchester United as genuine title contenders, and Ashworth won't be the difference.
OK.
Wow, OK.
I mean, gone pretty heavy there on Ashworth.
And they agree as well.
I'm quite excited about Dan Ashworth, you know, as a Manchester United
But that's
fan.
because you have so little to celebrate over so long.
Happens, of course.
It's because you've had such little to celebrate over so long that you find your joy in executives off the pitch. Other football fans celebrate silverware. You celebrate Dan Ashworth.
Well, I think that's harsh, isn't it? Given that we won silverware last year, finished inside the top four, gone in on me a little bit. I have to say, I think from a Man United fan's perspective, obviously we're trying to celebrate a foundation being laid, some sort of structure being put in off the pitch, which I think a lot of United fans have been asked for a long time. Because although there has been silverware, Europa Leagues, FA Cups, League Cups, hasn't necessarily been sustained enough success behind the scenes, is there? So I think it's to be celebrated.
It's a good sign at Newcastle as well, under him as well. Isak Botman, responsible for the England DNA. So I think it'll be interesting to see how that one unfolds. Let's move on to the next one. We're going to talk about Xabi Alonso, who's absolutely flying as manager of Bayer Leverkusen. They're on for a treble, aren't they? They're still in the Europa League.
What job is the a treble of sorts.
A treble of sorts. Top of the Bundesliga. Don't forget they beat Bayern Munich as well. Heavily linked with the Liverpool job. So we're saying true or false, Xabi Alonso should pick Liverpool over Bayern Munich. Interesting quotes from Klopp in the week as well, saying about how much he's a fan of Xabi Alonso. We've had a lot of Liverpool fans on here who've said that they'd be their pick to replace
Bayern
Klopp.
Potentially want him as well, don't they?
But also Bayern potentially. So true or false, what are you saying for this one? Boom. True, Rory. Why?
True. I think Xabi Alonso can't turn down the opportunity of managing Liverpool. When you think about who Liverpool are at the moment, it's a wonderful opportunity. When you think about his relationship with Liverpool, what he means to the fans, what the fans mean to him, I think it's such an opportunity that you can't possibly turn it down. Think about the scale of Liverpool. Compare them to Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich are obviously a giant of a football club, but Liverpool are huge as well. Certainly comparable in size.
If both options are on the table, which it seems like they might well be in the summer, you'd pick Liverpool.
Yes, and then the jewel in the crown, it's not only about picking Liverpool. You pick the Premier League over the Bundesliga every day of the week, don't you?
Well, he's played at both clubs, though, hasn't he? He's had big playing time at both clubs. I think three years at Bayern Munich towards the back end of his career.
What do you think? Job security is a big thing as well. Look, Bayern Munich sacked Nagelsmann very, very early. They got rid of Hansi Flick. You could do well in Germany, not win the Champions League, and Alonso could be sacked as a young manager. I think he could go to Liverpool and have that philosophical approach if it's connected to what FSG want from Liverpool as the owners of the club. I think he could be there for 3, 4, 5 years without winning a title. Klopp had so many years without winning anything, then he built the side to do it.
It's interesting you said that about his age, because he is a very relatively young manager, 42 years of age. He's very early on in his progression. In terms of where he's at, do you think it's just an opportunity that he physically can't turn down, or do you think ideally he'd like a few more years to gain that experience before going into such a huge job that is replacing Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool?
Whatever spin we put on it, whether we say that it would be better if this opportunity were to come after he's had a few more years cutting his teeth at a different club, a club with less pressure, that could all be true. But you cannot turn down Liverpool. The opportunity of managing Liverpool. Liverpool has to be one of the most coveted managerial roles in world football. One of the most iconic roles in world football is the office of Liverpool manager. You just can't turn that down, whatever the circumstance, even if Bayern Munich are on offer.
All right, Liverpool it is.
Fans love him, by the way.
Yeah, unbelievable job he's doing there. Right, next up, we're talking Kylian Mbappe. Now, loads of reports this week suggesting that he's told PSG is going to be leaving the club and that he's going to be going to Real Madrid. Also rumours about that. But we don't want to know where he's going to go. We want to know where you think he should go. So, true or false, Kylian Mbappe should join a Premier League club? Ooh. Booze.
As a Man City fan, obviously, I'd love Mbappe at the club. You know, obviously, Rory would say the same thing about Chelsea and everyone here, but he's not going to join a Premier League club, realistically speaking. I don't want him to stay at PSG. I want him to prove himself. The only club he can do that is Real Madrid. So on some level, I want to see him do it at Real Madrid and create... I think also the Premier League is so rich at the moment, got a lot of money and a lot of success in Europe. It'd be great to see Real Madrid have that big side to compete with Man City on the European level.
I think the sparkle of La Liga is lacking at the moment. I think La Liga as a entity isn't quite as inspiring as it once was. I mean, there was a time when you were glued to El Clasico, wasn't there? When it was Ronaldo versus Messi, it was enthralling and you had to watch it. I'm not sure I've watched an El Clasico recently. I'm not sure I've watched one since.
I agree.
So I don't necessarily think that the platform that you get playing in La Liga is enough for Kylian Mbappe to fulfil his potential. Ultimately, people call him the best player in the world, and that's not true at the moment, simply because he hasn't played in a top league. Going to La Liga, he still won't be playing in the top league. I think he needs a challenge of the Premier League.
But is the pull of Real Madrid different, though? Because they are the greatest team in European cup competition history in terms of Champions Leagues. They've won the Galacticos. Everything about Real Madrid. Do you make an exception for the size of the club?
Real Madrid, absolutely. I mean, there is something truly iconic about Real Madrid, the biggest club in the world. I love who they are. I really do like Real Madrid. But La Liga is just so uninspiring at the moment. The Premier League is where it's at. The Premier League, who the best managers in the world ply their trade where? Vastly, the best players in the world play where? The Premier League is what Kylian Mbappe needs.
I'd love to see an Mbappe-Haaland battle as well in the Premier League, like we saw with Messi and Ronaldo over the years, because I feel like we missed out on that a little bit in England, because the peak years were spent in Spain, but imagine the peak years of Haaland and Mbappe battling out in the Premier League.
Because it looks like it is Madrid, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Madrid, so yeah, pointless in there.
Next one, true or false? We're talking about Chelsea now. Of course, we've got a guest on in the Chelsea fan in the studio. I was going to say, I don't know why I couldn't say that, but true or false, Pochettino will turn it around at Chelsea. The graphic helps me get my words out. Rory is thinking about it, and you've gone false. Go on, Rory, why have you gone false? You've been quite vocal about Chelsea this season as a Chelsea fan, so why are you gone false?
I've seen nothing in Mauricio Pochettino to suggest that he's the right man to lead Chelsea out of the mire. Like, we're not a good team. We have no identity. Mauricio Pochettino has been there for a long time now, particularly when you compare it to other managers. You think how maybe Graham Potter was treated. Graham Potter didn't have a pre-season, and he got far better results independently than Mauricio Pochettino has done. If I were to say to you, Pochettino's Chelsea, who are we? What's our identity? How do we play? I think that you'd really struggle to give me an answer.
But he's in defence of Pochettino. I think that is hard when there's like the signings he's made in the summer and then the signings last summer. There's a lot of new faces at the club when you're trying to bring together 25 new players. You're also trying to bring together an identity. And all of those players are very young, aren't they? They're all maybe haven't developed fully to their potential yet.
If you think about the impact of, say, Eddie Howe when he went into Newcastle, or the impact of Ange Postecoglou when he went into Tottenham, if you think about Mauricio Pochettino coming into Chelsea, Chelsea are a worse team today than we were under Graham Potter.
Do you honestly believe that?
It's a truth. Under Graham Potter, as much as it was fairly underwhelming at times, and at times it was like baffling what he was getting up to, Chelsea went away to the San Siro and beat AC Milan. We knocked Borussia Dortmund out of the European Cup. Nothing that Pochettino has done is comparable to that.
There have been big results, haven't there? Well, not big results, but good performances.
Big draws.
Yeah, good performances, though, especially at the start of the season against some of the bigger sides.
Yeah.
At home, you know...
I mean, the opening day of the season, we got a decent draw against Liverpool, but circumstance is very important. If Salah's goal had stood, we would have gone 2-0 down.
Drew against us as well.
Yeah. A draw.
Would you rather have Graham Potter then, you said?
No, I certainly wouldn't want Graham Potter back at Chelsea. Absolutely not. Please do not misconstrue what I'm saying for that to be the case. I don't want Graham Potter anywhere near the Chelsea dugout ever again. I'm just trying to say that the way that Graham Potter was treated, the conversation around Graham Potter, it all feels very generous to me around Mauricio Pochettino. People aren't saying, why on earth are Chelsea in the bottom half of the league? Whereas when Graham Potter and Frank Lampard were there, people were saying those two need to be sacked.
What do you think, Booth?
His saving grace for me is that there have been some decent results against the Big Six, and they've got one of the youngest sides in the league, if not the youngest side in the top six. So what he did at Spurs, I think, is underrated by football fans. They were one of the hardest sides I saw City play, especially at White Hart Lane before they obviously moved to Wembley and then the new stadium. They were hard to play against.
Agree.
Pochettino is working... yeah, but you have to say it. And it's like, you know, these other managers we talk about, Unai Emery coming into Aston Villa and Postecoglou at Spurs, these clubs are a bit more normalised. They're ready to go. They've got more world-class players. Chelsea was a revolution. All these young players coming in, a lot of them haven't worked. He needs 2-3 years at least, in my opinion.
Would you give him the 2 or 3 years?
I would, because the issue for Chelsea is there's no one else out there with the calibre that they can actually get.
Yes, there is.
Who would you get then?
It's obvious. The right answer is waiting in the wings to take charge at Chelsea, to get in the job before we go to Wembley to play Liverpool and to win us the League Cup. The answer is obviously Jose Mourinho.
But not long term. That's the issue.
So you would rather genuinely have Jose Mourinho now than Mauricio Pochettino as manager of Chelsea Football Club?
Today, I would make that change. But before we play, can that be done before we play City? How long we got?
Jose don't necessarily have a history of, you know, with young players, developing young players. He's classically gone into clubs, brought in quite experienced heads, and kind of got together a group of older leaders in that team to kind of galvanise what's going on there. He couldn't do that at Chelsea, could he? Because it's a very, very young team. Who does he go to?
He'd have to spend another 500 million.
He's classically gone into clubs, galvanised the fans, united the dressing room, and won silverware. And that is what Chelsea need.
All right.
Wow, OK.
Wow.
There we go. We'll move on to the next one, shall we?
Let's move on to the next one. It's going to involve Manchester City. Boobs, you're up here. This is very simple. True or false, Man City will win back-to-back trebles?
Ooh. OK, City fans gone false, Chelsea fans gone true.
Wow, you bottled it, in other words.
It's despicably true.
Yeah?
It's true.
Only 2 teams in European football history have won 2 trebles, and it's never been done back-to-back.
Never
consecutively. So you think this is the time...
They're breaking all sorts of records, aren't they? It's one after the other. It's centurions, then it's a treble, then it's record points. They are record breakers. That's what they're doing. They are a sensational team. And when you put them together, which obviously is what you do with the treble, I think you can maybe explore a world where it doesn't happen. But if you analyse each individual competition, it's them. Who's going to stop them winning the league? Probably nobody. Who's going to stop them winning the FA Cup? Probably nobody. The European Cup, it's a little bit of a lottery.
That's the tricky one, the European Cup.
I can see them in the league, yeah. So why have you gone false? Which one do you think they won't win?
I think the Champions League with the referees can be, you know, a little bit vicious in terms
Is that the reason you're not
the referees, but I think the biggest compliment that we can pay as City fans is that Rory says true, that we are capable of winning back-to-back trebles, but the weight of football history is not on our side, and rightly so. I think it'd be ridiculous for me to sit here and say, I expect City to win back-to-back trebles. Like, I take a league title, I think we're more than good enough to win the league, and that'd be special to win 4 in a row. Everything on top of that, I think we are more than good enough to do. We are capable of winning back-to-back trebles.
I just can't see who stops them in any competition.
This is always the way, isn't it? And then they stumble against somebody in the FA Cup.
Real Madrid, you know, it was tight at the Bernabeu. I know we smashed them at the Etihad, but it was tight at the Bernabeu.
It'd be really tight over 2 legs against Arsenal as well if they got
Are you joking? That's a joke. You can't honestly believe that.
I just said Real Madrid. You said
Arsenal home and away in the Champions League.
I think over 2 legs in the Champions League, Arsenal give them a really good game. We've seen them go to. We've seen.
There's not 3 legs. There's only 2 legs.
Yeah, but we've seen you lose at the Emirates already this season.
A deflected goal.
For the first time in...
A deflected
goal.
goal.
I think that proves
they
that
made
Arsenal,
an Amazon doc about it.
That Arsenal
do you think
are
Arsenal
stepping
beat
up?
City over 2 legs?
I think it'd be really close between them. I think Arsenal are probably the second best team in Europe at the moment.
City beat Arsenal home and away in Europe. Arsenal have a pitiful record in Europe. Remember, competition is important.
Absolutely.
They're pitiful.
But I think I look at the European sides right now, and I think there is potentially a little bit of a dearth of high-quality teams. You look at Bayern Munich, who we all thought at the start of the season were going to be exceptional, getting turned over by Lazio midweek.
1-0.
Real Madrid,
they're still in that side, aren't they?
Yeah, but they've not looked good in the league either. If they've gone out the pock out, you look at PSG. I never back PSG because they always seem to collapse at some stage.
You'd fancy Real Madrid to go far, wouldn't you?
I think But Real Madrid look good.
I agree.
They definitely look good, but they're not as good as they were.
Nobody's looking good. But if we're genuine,
Arsenal are looking good.
If we're going to say that Arsenal were the challenger to City winning the European Cup, all that means is that City have already won the European Cup.
No, it doesn't. I think Arsenal.
Congratulations.
Cheers. Thanks very much.
I think people, just because history shouldn't write Arsenal out of a European Cup when they are playing at this level.
City will beat Arsenal home and away in Europe.
They might well do.
In third gear.
They might well do, but I wouldn't back many teams to go to the Emirates, be it Bayern Munich, be it Real Madrid, be it PSG, and walk over them. I think their defence is absolutely
they're more likely to
not
against Porto. They're more likely to lose to Porto than win the Champions League.
Easily.
They got Porto, they might lose that game. Easily. They bottled the Europa League last season.
I mean, we'll see, won't we?
Unai Emery came back launching Arteta out of European competition.
deeper side now, but I think you've maybe underestimated Arsenal's strength a little bit.
OK, turned on to Arsenal a bit, that. It was actually about Man City, that one, wasn't it? We divulged a little bit. But interesting split. Now, the next one is about blue cards. Now, a bit of context for this. IFAB expected to include provision for blue cards. Referees will have the power to sin bin a player for 10 minutes. That will be for dissent or cynical fouling. 2 blue cards would equal a red card. Now, there's already been trials at sort of the amateur level. This proposal would affect very low levels of the game, not affect it to come into elite level.
About Premier League, Champions League here.
It has been a big story in the world of football. So, true or false, we are saying blue cards, would they be good for football? True or false?
Can I get 10 of these cards and just do it there, like a big false sign? It's outrageous, and football has experienced more changes to the game in the last 5 years than the previous 100 years combined. Why am I, as a football fan, living through VAR, living through blue cards, where if a side suffered a blue card to one of their players, the other side gets defensive and rigid. This isn't rugby, and football's meant to be free-flowing. There's meant to be an element of physicality and an element of risk in a challenge, and blue cards eliminate the aspects of threat to football.
Interestingly, a blue card for a goalkeeper would reportedly force teams to choose between putting an outfield player in goal or making a permanent substitution.
It's a terrible idea, and it's just another example of bureaucrats fiddling with the game in a way that is totally unnecessary. There is no reason for this. It doesn't amplify the game at all. Just leave it alone. I'm fed up with people constantly trying to tweak and improve the game and ultimately making it this turgid affair. It really is ridiculous. I was reading the other day that Arsene Wenger wants to get rid of throw-ins. You're just like, what are you doing? Why is everybody trying to ruin the game? The reason that the game is so universally loved is because it is poetry. It's wonderful. It's freedom. It's expressive. And then you get this nonsense. People who've never played the game in high-powered offices trying to, like, ruin it and go, I've got a great idea, blue card, that's going to work. It will do nothing. And it will actually have a very detrimental impact on the product that is the game.
All right.
Mauricio would be gutted, wouldn't he, if throw-ins went?
Yeah.
Absolutely devastated.
Why does he hate throw-ins? What's his issue with throw-ins?
Slowing the game down, I think,
Not
is
even a
his
thing.
issue. Yeah. OK, let's move on to the next one. Let's drop down to the bottom end of the table, shall we? Because I think Luton Town, one of the stories of the season so far. So, true or false, Luton Town will avoid relegation? Both saying true.
Okay.
Yeah, OK. Yeah. Why?
They're one of the most exciting sides to watch, obviously, relatively speaking, in the Premier League. What Rob Edwards has done as a young coach is exciting. It's comparable to Bournemouth last season with Gary O'Neill, in my opinion. And I'd love for one of the sides to get that have been promoted last season to stay in the league. I think it'd be a massive, heroic story for Luton Town. And Luton's story in the last 5 to 10 years, coming up slowly and steadily through the Football League, is really incredible, in my opinion. I want them to stay up for the narrative of the Premier League.
What a job Rob Edwards is doing.
It's amazing.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's amazing.
You think of their budget and everything around it. I feel like it's brilliant to have Luton in
I
the
completely agree. I think everything Buvey said is bang on. They are, by hook or by crook, I think they can do it. I don't know if it's going to be because of other things going on in the Premier League, but one way or the other, I think they can. I desperately hope they will. They're the modern-day crazy gang, aren't they? It's like it's Dennis Wise and John Fashanu. It's Holloway at Blackpool. It's enthralling, it's exciting, and it's wonderful for the Premier League. I really hope they do it, and we can get rid of a couple of the uninspiring sides that have been lingering in the Premier League for far too long.
Who? Like who?
Brentford.
What? Brentford's one of the stories. Like Leeds.
And they haven't been in the Premier League that long either.
Get rid of Brentford.
Brentford.
He got very arrogant, that manager. He wanted rid of replays. Who on earth do you think he is? 10 years ago, they would have been dreaming of a replay. Suddenly he's trying to put up the ladder.
They're such a likeable club.
Get rid of Brentford. Get rid of Bournemouth.
Please, lads.
Get a big club.
Those are the thoughts of Rory. Those are the thoughts of Rory. Very likeable club, Brentford. Interestingly, 17th in the Premier League, Luton, 1 point above Everton in 18th. They do have that game in hand. But their next three, they've got Man United, Liverpool, then Man City in the FA Cup, and then Villa in the league. So, tough run of fixtures. Excited about the next one, though, because it splits our next guests. It is true or false, City are more successful than Chelsea. So, historically, as a club, Chelsea and a City fan, what are we saying? Buvey, you are going true.
I'll say true. What are you doing?
Why true?
More league titles than Chelsea before both takeovers. Only one European Cup less. Better individual seasons in the Premier League, in my opinion. More consistent success. Chelsea haven't won a league title now in 7 years. And this is the era of Man City. So, for me, it has to be Manchester City.
This is the era of Man City. It's very hard to argue with it now. What Guardiola has done has been sensational and, changed the game, undoubtedly. But Chelsea are a bigger institution. Chelsea are a better club. Chelsea are a more successful club. Chelsea are a more relevant club. Chelsea are a more supported club. Chelsea are a more interesting club. Chelsea have a better history as a club. Like, the list goes on and on and on.
Dude.
Manchester City are effectively insignificant, aren't they? Manchester City are basically Blackburn Rovers, but they've got money and they're a good football team. Nobody cares about them.
Basically, Blackburn Rovers, but got money. That's what Rory says. Your thoughts on that?
It's hard because Chelsea are in London. London has got this kind of... It's got a bigger population. There's a lot more fans around the stadium. No, but it's a huge... Being in the capital city is a huge thing for London. You get a lot of the kind of popularity from being the third biggest club in London. You know, with all due respect, maybe the fourth. And City have got a beautiful, rich history that I think a lot of City fans would say is internal to the club. City fans can tell you narratives around Man City from our perspective. You know, there aren't big advertising campaigns, there aren't documentaries, but the beautiful stories of City from the 90s, from the double winning side in the 60s.
Sounds like waffle to me, Joe. Sounds like waffle to me.
There was a lot.
He's talking about London and the tube.
London population.
Yeah. He's brought up population stats. I think I've had that. I've won that one. It's 1-0. That's 1-0 Chelsea.
Yeah, tight. Let's go on to the next one then, shall we?
It's getting very random, the reading there.
I know what's going on there.
No PR campaign on a bus. I don't know what that's got to do with anything.
Yeah, next one, we're going to be talking about Harry Kane. Because, like you said, bad result of the weekend against Bayer. But, true or false, Harry Kane won't win a trophy this season.
And do you know why it's false?
You think he
because
will?
of the population stats of Munich. If you think about the population stats of Munich, you know, no, I think they'll come good. I think. Do you remember how the Bundesliga finished last season?
Yeah, good point.
It felt like it was Borussia Dortmund. It was in the bag for Dortmund at one point, and somehow Bayern Munich won it. I feel like they will find a way again. Harry Kane's exceptional, isn't he? He's breaking records. He's truly sublime, world-class footballer, elite player, and I do think they'll find a way. And ultimately, they will win silverware. I wouldn't even, as much as I think City are favourites and probably will retain the Champions League, I can see a world where Bayern Munich go to Wembley and win it. Harry Kane plays Arsenal home and away, scores home and away in the Champions League. See that at the Emirates.
You can see that. His record against Arsenal is ridiculous, isn't
Exactly.
it? Yeah.
Exactly.
And I know what you mean, Bundesliga still
You
in the
think
mix.
he goes
Do you
trophyless?
think he goes trophyless?
For me, we have to look at football history. There have literally been hundreds of players that leave Spurs and go on to win trophies, OK? But for me, Harry Kane is so significantly connected to Tottenham as a player that I think's bottled big moments in his career, with all due respect. I think he's done it for England. I think he's done it for England a little bit as well. I love Harry Kane.
Striker in the world?
I love Harry Kane, but we look at Bayern Munich, they're
England's
worse.
record scorer.
But they're worse
Spurs'
now.
record
But
scorer.
England didn't win anything and still haven't. And he had a big moment in the final. He had a big
England
moment in the semi-final of the World Cup.
1966. I think to pin that on one player is a bit
No, but
harsh.
he is a huge player, and he should have squared it to Raheem Sterling. I always think that. And ultimately, Bayern are worse
It's
now.
offside.
Bayern are a worse side now with Harry Kane in it. Yeah, that's just fact. They're second
You
in the
think
league.
Bayern are a worse side with Harry Kane in it?
They look far more vulnerable. I saw him against Lazio in the Champions League, spraying balls around. It's not working for me.
Wow.
OK.
Big shout, big shout. OK, enjoyed that true or false section very much.